You know how we love to talk about generations? Gen X, Millennials, Boomers, we have all these neat little boxes, but there's a group of people who just don't quite fit. They're not really one, and they're definitely not the other. So who are they? Today, we're going to dive into the psychology of this unique microgeneration, the one caught right in the middle.
Okay, let's just start with a simple question. Take a look at this. Does this picture hit home for you? If you have clear, vivid memories of both of these things, that clunky, satisfying rotary dial and the absolute magic of seeing that first iPhone, well, then chances are this is about you. And this right here, this is the core of it, isn't it? It's this feeling of being pushed and pulled between two worlds. You're told you're at the tail end of one generation, but you came of age just before the next one really kicked off. You're basically living in the space between.
So this feeling of being in between, it's not just a hunch, it's a real recognized demographic. So let's actually put a name to this group and define exactly who we're talking about. The term that started popping up around 2014 is Xennial. It describes this very specific slice of people born in this window who went through a truly unique period of history. And it created a mindset that is absolutely worth a closer look. But look, this isn't just about birth years. What really truly defines Xennials, what makes them so psychologically fascinating, is the unbelievable technological earthquake they lived through. It's the one thing that sets them apart from absolutely everyone else. I mean, just think about it. Your childhood was completely analog. You passed actual paper notes in class. You made plans with your friends and just hoped they'd show up. If you missed your favorite TV show, that was it. It was gone. But then, right as you were becoming an adult, the world went digital. And it happened fast. Suddenly there was Friendster, then MySpace, and then Facebook, all while you were in your 20s. And this timeline really puts it all into perspective. Just look at when these things hit. The internet becomes a real thing in your late teens. The first wave of social media lands in your early 20s. And the smartphone revolution kicks off when you're in your late 20s. These aren't small updates. These are world-altering events, and they happen right in your most formative years. So, living through that kind of whiplash-inducing change, that's a huge ask for anyone. How did this generation manage it so well? Well, the answer, believe it or not, might be hidden in our own biology. Let's get a little nerdy for a second and talk about the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the CEO of your brain. It's the part that's responsible for adapting, for learning new and complicated things, for figuring out how to respond to massive change. Now, here's the really interesting part. This number, 25. Turns out the prefrontal cortex is still developing, still super flexible and plastic until you're about 25 years old. For Xennials, that window of peak brain adaptability was open at the exact same moment the digital revolution was happening. And that created this perfect storm. You were young enough that learning new software, new platforms, it all felt kind of natural, intuitive, but you were also just old enough to have these deep, real memories of what the world was like before any of it. That created this really rare kind of digital bilingualism. But this unique upbringing, this biological sweet spot, it didn't just create a generation of tech-savvy adapters. It forged a psyche with a very specific set of traits, both a deep collective scar and some truly unique superpowers. First, let's talk about the SPAR. So many Xennials were just getting their careers started, just getting their feet under them, when the 2008 financial crisis completely blew up the global economy. Experiencing that kind of shockwave, right when you're supposed to be building your future, that leaves a mark. It gives you a deep-seated caution, a skepticism about stability that really shapes how you think about money and risk for years to come. But alongside that scar, you developed some serious superpowers. You've got digital bilingualism, you can troubleshoot your parents' Wi-Fi and still remember how to use a card catalog. You have face-to-face fluency. You can actually hold a conversation with eye contact without twitching for your phone. And maybe most important, your whole perspective on privacy is different because you remember a time when your embarrassing moments just faded away instead of being screenshotted and living online forever. So when you mix all of this together, the analog childhood, the digital adulthood, the economic trauma, these hard-won skills, you end up with what you could call the central Xennial paradox. And this is fascinating. You're holding two contradictory mindsets at the same time. You've got that classic Gen X skepticism and self-reliance because you grew up without parents tracking your every move. But you also have a little bit of that early millennial optimism, because you remember when the internet felt like this amazing tool that was going to connect everyone and solve all our problems. You're somehow doubtful and hopeful all at once. And because you've lived on both sides, you understand the trade-off better than anyone. We definitely lost things. The patience that comes from having to actually wait for something. The quiet peace of being truly unreachable. The freedom of having moments that weren't being filmed. But man, we also gained incredible things. Instant connection, access to literally all of human knowledge, and possibilities we couldn't even have dreamed of as kids. And maybe this one quote just sums it all up perfectly. The whole Xennial experience, it isn't about feeling special. It's about living through a moment that forced you to learn this one incredibly critical skill: how to adapt to massive, world-changing events without losing the core of who you are. So, we'll end on this thought. The story of the Xennial isn't just some historical curiosity. It's a case study in resilience. In a world that just keeps changing faster and faster, maybe the most valuable experience anyone can have is already having lived through one gigantic paradigm shift. What does that teach us about how to navigate all the changes that are still to come?